What do you got?
Well, let's see. This week I spent most of my time reorganizing my Beanie Baby collection, and let me tell you, I learned a thing or two about my Beanie Babies that you'll never guess. You'll have to tune in next week to find out.
Welcome, everybody, this week to the Damage Per Second podcast. Week 37 here with Brett and Keith. Introduce yourselves. Tell us a fun fact about yourselves that no one else in the world has ever heard.
My name is Brett, and I died at the age of 3, and I am merely a reincarnated form of myself.
I never knew that. Thank you.
You asked for it to be fun.
Keith is silent.
Hey, I'm Keith, and
I'm TV's Melissa Joan Hart. You might know me from Clarissa Explains It All, or countless other things.
That's crazy. I'm surprised Melissa Joan Hart is still making movies. Apparently she's in some film that's recent. I don't know what it is, but she's still doing stuff.
I think she plays the Doberman in the Beethoven remake.
I mean, a real method actress.
Fun fact about the number 37, just to keep it with our number facts. As it turns out, and not a lot of people know this, but 1837 was the year that a young man named Josef Soarkreme decided he wanted to try to make a new type of cream that he thought other people would like. And it is sour cream, but it's not for the reason that you might expect. The man's name was Sour Cream, but here's the thing people don't know. This guy, Josef Soarkreme, he was working on sour cream day and night, day and night. It took him hundreds of attempts. So by the time he finally got the cream just right the way he wanted it, some would say he was quite soured on the experience, hence the name Sour Cream. Thank you, Josef Sour Cream, the year 1837. You're welcome,
That's why
everybody.
It's called sour cream, not because the cream is sour. That was a happy accident.
So it's not because the cream was sour, nor because his name was Sour Cream, but because he was soured by the experience.
Exactly. I mean, you would be too. It's a bittersweet experience. We're lucky it wasn't called bittersweet cream, because I feel like that's a chore to describe.
Disgusting.
Low-fat bittersweet cream. Also, yes, sounds disgusting. So you're welcome, everybody, and you can take that to your parents, to your friends, and let them know. And these are real number facts each week that you should remember. There's going to be a quiz once we hit episode 100, and I expect that the viewer that can remember the most true number facts will get a shout-out by me, the one and only Jayborino.
The one and only. Don't forget it.
All other people who don't come in first in the number fact contest, you won't be allowed to watch the podcast anymore or listen to it. We're going to start just with that one person, and we're going to rebuild from there, and then we're going to do it again. And eventually, our entire audience is going to be made up of people who are, we'll get all the idiots out.
Because, again, these are true facts. These might come into play sometime in your life, and someone's going to say, you're going to be at a party sometime, and someone's going to bring up Josef Sour Cream, and you're going to be like, I know about this, and you can be a part of that conversation instead of staying silent and wishing that you were in on it. Like, I've never watched Seinfeld, and people talk about Seinfeld all the time. How do you think I feel about that? That's how you're going to feel one day.
Might be how you meet your wife. You'll thank us.
Or husband. I know a lot of ladies out there joining us for the Damage Per Second podcast.
At least 80% of Justin's listeners are women.
It's true. YouTube analytics don't lie. 80%.
40-year-old women.
So Keith, what fun things have you been up to this week? Tell us all about your gaming experiences and life in general. How's life been treating you?
It's getting rough, I haven't had such a good go of it. I'm really glad you asked, because I got a lot to say about this. This is going to be a cry for help, and it's going to take over the podcast. So basically, I played a little bit of Witcher 3, not too much. I'm going to get back into it, but I went on a little bit of a break because I've been watching lots of Game of Thrones. I'm almost caught up. And I sort of weirdly subbed one out for the other because it's like one's a game, the other is a TV show, but they're both kind of medieval fantasy sort of, so it's scratching that itch. I'll go back to some Witcher after that, but it's been taking up some of my free time. And then I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, and getting back into it more. I like the new map, and mostly just playing. I found the site Overbuff, which is made by the Dota Buff people. It's pretty cool. They got a bunch of in-depth statistics. You can sign in with your account and see, what they've got each character that you play broken down by statistics, like how many deaths do you get on average, how many kills, how many, how much healing, etc. And then they compare that to other people. It was like, if you went to Dota Buff when you played Dota, but it basically tells you like, hey, you're in this percentile for this character, and that's pretty cool because you can see which characters you're performing well as. So even characters that tend to do better in general, or at least get more credit, like Soldier 76 or something, like you'll get a lot of eliminations. It'll compare you to other Soldier 76 players and stuff like that. So I was just finding some interesting stuff. Like it's like you're in the 80th percentile for kills as Winston, but you're also in like the 80th percentile for deaths because you just keep like jumping into fights and getting yourself killed. And so there's some interesting stuff to be learned there. So I was like, taking kind of an in-depth look at that today. That's mostly it. I don't think I've been getting into too much else. Lots and lots of Overwatch.
I think Overwatch is interesting. We've talked about this before, how the way that they've implemented the way that the scoring works is so that you don't, in the moment, get mad at your teammates. Like you have a general idea at who's performing well and who's performing poorly, but it doesn't actively tell you, like, you're 0-18.
It's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, teammates can't look at you and be like, oh, this person is totally eating shit all game. God damn it. You can't figure that stuff out. And it's really interesting. And I know every so often when I have a bad game, I want to check that. But it's probably for the best that you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So, you can see who did the best. But then as far as everybody else playing, you're like, all right, well, I mean, you can only see who did the best if they show up on the ending screen. There's only 4 people. So, like, there's still another 10 people, and you don't know how they stack up. So you can't tell who lost the game for you.
Yeah.
And I also noticed it does a really good job at making you feel like you're doing pretty well. But I'm not sure if I have a good idea of how good I am actually at the game, because I feel like I'm pretty good. Like, I feel like I'm just getting all the gold, like not all the golds, but a lot of, at least like, I feel like I get like 2 golds in every game that I play. And I'm like, wow, I'm just like easily the best person on this team. Like, no, everyone, and then I look at like overbuff and it's telling me I'm in like the 25th percentile or something overall. But then like certain characters, it'll say, hey, you're in like a way higher percentile. And then there's but I play a lot of different characters, so then it's like, but like these 6 characters, you're in like the 10th percentile. You're terrible. Mm-hmm. And so I think that really pulls me down.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's something that we've definitely talked about before, so we don't have to beat it to death. But that's definitely a thing that it seems like each iteration of super popular game that comes out sort of revamps how the community is. I don't want to say moderated, but it's definitely like how to account for the inevitable garbage that you get of people who they're just toxic and just really mean for no reason. Like they can't just play the game and recognize that, occasionally you lose. Like sometimes you just lose. Sometimes you lose a lot in a row. Sometimes you just do. And like, how do you account for people that just refuse to accept that and they just have to blame their teammates? And I feel like this is a great iteration that it never occurred to me to think about this before. They kind of did it with Heroes of the Storm, though, as well, where your kills are shared, so you don't really get to see how terrible you're doing.
Yeah, that's pretty. I didn't realize they did it in Heroes of the Storm, but I don't know. Blizzard has some good insights. They really got. They make a lot of different kinds of games, so I feel like they have some interesting insight into online gaming in particular. And, I think one thing's for sure is that, Overwatch is a lot less toxic than some of these other online games. And maybe the same can be said for Heroes of the Storm, I'm not sure. But it's really interesting to see them just consistently. They come out and they approach a kind of game that they have never made before. Like, they do not stick to their niches. They just come out and they just, like, execute it flawlessly. Mm-hmm. And say what you want about Overwatch, like some people were saying, like, yeah, there's not enough there, like, at the start. I know some people are dropping off now, like, people who aren't super dedicated, but it still get a lot of players, like a ton of players, and no one's arguing that anymore. I think like when they see how much people are playing it, some people are like level. I mean, when you get to 100, it's like prestige levels sort of in Call of Duty where you just go back to level 1 and then you get like a star next to your name. And some people are at like level 500 and shit, and I
Good God.
don't know how you do that. I play the game a lot. Like I understand that other people would certainly play this game more than I do, but I'm level 93, and to think that some people are playing this game 5, 6, 7 times as much as I do is insane. Like,
I mean, it might just be playing characters that get more XP naturally, plus the fact that like they're probably kids and they've been on summer break.
Yeah,
they just play literally
just
all day,
fucking
every
play.
single day. They don't have
All
enough
day.
money to buy other games. They just buy this game and play it all the time.
Yeah, I remember how we used to play Dota. I mean,
Yeah.
even I was even working and I was able to play a ton. It's like when someone gets really focused on a game, you could play even more. And then imagine someone who has no work or school obligations at the time. Or even, I mean, school, if it's relatively light workload, you can just play non-stop. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Still,
like-
I don't have the attention span for playing a game that long.
What about Dota?
Pretty impressive. Well, I did at least on one time.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't know.
the-
Maybe I need the right game, so I don't know.
The interesting thing is that on the face of it, those games are like Dota and Overwatch are very simple, and you're like, it's only like one map, or there's only like 4 maps, and there's, but just the depth of the gameplay, this sort of emergent stuff like characters versus characters, different team comps, like there's still a bunch of heroes that I don't really ever play, and I'm not particularly good with them. So there's always something that I can do, like like if you're ever bored in Dota, you could be like, oh, all right, I guess I could just play Invoker. That's a good like 6 months of time that
I have to take to learn this one character. Yeah, I took some time to learn Earth Spirit, and it took me months to figure out how to play that character at all, even at like a basic level.
Yeah, First Spirit was sick, man.
It definitely boils down to the amount of characters, because there's just so many combinations. And can you imagine if a game like Dota actually varied their maps a little bit? Like, I understand they have like an arcade type system with a lot of custom maps, but imagine if they came out with some official type stuff. We could see some like crazy, some really crazy, really unique stuff. I mean, that's what Overwatch did. Overwatch, I feel like, and that's kind of what Blizzard is good at. They look at a genre that they could improve upon, and they kind of hastily put together Heroes of the Storm, and it still has a really popular following, and they keep improving on it. But then they took the remnants of that other game project that got scrapped and turned it into Overwatch, and they've just taken all of these mechanics that people don't like from popular games and made them better, which I think is awesome.
They're the kings of like finding a genre that's ripe for disruption, like first-person shooter, or MMO, or RTS, or card games. Like, and they look and they're like, yeah, this is basically like dominated by. They'll look at these different industries and say, these are like dominated by like one game that honestly is not very good.
Yeah.
Or these people just keep putting out the same games over and over again. We could like do something totally different and be amazing, right? Wouldn't be that hard to make. And then they come in and they just do it like flawlessly every time. I mean, even the games that don't really take off as much, like Heroes of the Storm, still do very well by conventional standards. But yeah, they're great company.
If I can go on a slight tangent about
I'm
that.
done
Sorry,
with
Brett.
mine,
I'm just pushing away your time, but.
Whatever. No, I'm just kidding.
The thing about that is one thing I've noticed within the StarCraft community as StarCraft has declined in popularity is it's interesting how, you talk about Heroes of the Storm. We both talked about like how it's doing well as a game, but it's interesting how people say like, well, if we're not number one in terms of viewership on Twitch, except maybe League of Legends, which everybody knows apparently is just unbeatable, but if we are not number one on Twitch, then the game just it's a failure. It's not doing well. And I just hate that mindset. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel about Heroes of the Storm for no reason. Because people say, like, oh, Heroes of the Storm, it's doing terribly. When in reality, that game rakes in a ton of money and has a really loyal player base. And a large player base. And people that have never played it are always like, oh, well, Heroes of the Storm just isn't really that good. Which is hilarious to me because they're just like, they just never see it as the number one game, so therefore it's a dead game. It's just such a stupid mindset, and I think that's kind of what happened to StarCraft after the glory days of when Wings of Liberty came out. It started waning, and admittedly Blizzard needed to do more, and now they've started to do more, but everyone says, well, the numbers, they don't reflect the game, people getting, the game. But my argument is, like, there's a feeling to the StarCraft community. You even go on the subreddit, and there's more positivity. There's excitement about tournaments. The prize pools are increasing. But then there's people that are like, yeah, but the numbers just don't show it. Look at how the 1v1 numbers have been going down. I'm like, that's not the point. You think some new person who's interested in StarCraft, because just because a lower number of people are playing it doesn't mean there's less excitement. You can have fewer people who are more excited to spread the word. That's how you get more people. And these new people aren't coming in and being like, well, the 1v1 numbers are down from last year, so I don't know.
People that were interested in 1v1, were already playing StarCraft, back in the heyday. That's not who Blizzard is targeting with all their new updates, like the co-op missions and stuff like that. I mean, they're targeting a whole new crowd and measuring it by something that they're not particularly focusing on right now isn't really a reflection of how well it's doing at all.
Right.
It's a reflection that, the game's changing, but they got like a super dedicated player base, for some of these things. You look at some of the most popular games out there. I mean, how popular was No Man's Sky for a week, and it was
4 hours.
super totally fleeting. I'm sure Blizzard much prefers their, dedicated fan base.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. It's just a mindset some people have, and I think it's kind of an elitism that grows within communities, which is unfortunate. But I don't know. It's frustrating, especially with StarCraft. It's like, look, StarCraft is challenging, and Blizzard realized, look, if we want to break people into the game, we need to make it more accessible via other game modes, and then those people transition into 1v1. Most people, I should say. Not a lot of people, but the majority of your players are going to start playing through a casual game mode, and then we'll try 1v1. Not too many people, and I think, Brett, you can attest to this, is not going to start StarCraft and think, yep, definitely can learn this in a week.
Yeah.
You just think this is overwhelming. What do I do with this? This is so hard.
Yep.
Yeah, it's intimidating, and the people who are still playing, doing 1v1, stuff like that, just continue to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
I mean, they need sort of a gateway
and
for people to get into the game.
Yep, and it's just that attitude of, like, the old boys club, to use that phrase incorrectly. But it's just like the people that have been around for a while, they're like, well, I play 1v1, and Blizzard isn't catering to me. And frankly, they shouldn't be. They catered to you for 2 years, and the game lost a ton of popularity. So they're trying something new, and I think it's working. So I think that's great. But to get back to the point, just the attitude in general of like, well, a game isn't listed as super popular on Twitch, therefore it must not be doing well. It's just so stupid. I hate it.
I think that's kind of a shame too. In getting into the fighting game community, I've really sort of learned to appreciate how well constructed the communities are of like Dota and League of Legends and stuff, because it really is like a community effort to make these games succeed. If you see something like Street Fighter, which has been around for 25 years or however long, like there's still those veterans who are still around making tutorials on how to play Street Fighter V well and like doing what Capcom isn't. And you see that same thing with StarCraft, is if you have these old veterans who are just like, well, all the new players aren't going to learn it anyways, they're not going to like it. Like, that's part of the community effort that it requires to make the games be as big as they can be. Because, there's the other games like King of Fighters, which I just recently picked up, and Guilty Gear, which just don't thrive as much because, for one, not as many people buy it and play it, and for two, the community doesn't share as much. And I think it goes both ways. They need to make a sellable product, but they also need to have a community that's willing to like help out other people.
Yep, for sure.
And just give back a little bit. So.
And it's cyclical. I mean, if you have community figures that are willing to put in some time to raise excitement, you will get excitement brought to yourself. I mean, that's how I view my channel. If StarCraft is doing well, it's noticeable. I mean, I have very, very strict analytics that kind of track this kind of stuff on my channel, and I can tell if StarCraft, you just get a feel for it with how the community is, and it always correlates with higher viewership on my channel, because some people, you just get excited about StarCraft, and I'm just using StarCraft as an example, but if you if you know if you want to be a selfish community figure, then it's not going to work out as well for you. If you generate excitement within the community for the game itself or whatever it is that you're part of the community, it will naturally grow into more viewership for yourself, and it goes back and forth, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows.
I kind of wonder what how much what the correlation is between games that are streamed a bunch on Twitch and stuff like that, and games that are sell a lot of copies. I'm sure there's a big effect there where people see a lot of people playing Ark Survival Evolved or something and they go buy it. But certainly there's also just games that are better for streaming, but might not be actually that fun to play.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, it's kind of the age-old question. That's a hyperbolic. It's not age-old, but the idea is, do people watch what they play, or do they play what they watch?
Yeah.
The age-old question.
Well, and it can definitely
differ. Socrates this time. He was saying that. He was saying, I like to watch League of Legends because I'm a noob, but I'm not going to play it. I'm a Dota player. He said that.
LOL is for casuals. That's why the viewership's so high. It's because it's for casuals.
Yeah, scrubs. They're such scrubs.
Brett, what have you been up to this week? I'm sorry, we just spiraled out of control there.
Oh, that's great. So I did a bunch of Street Fighter competitions. Actually, it all started Friday night. I went up to the place where I tried to go last week, and there actually was a big tournament there. So I entered that and promptly lost both of my matches. So I was gone in like 30 minutes, but it was a really cool experience. I played some matches beforehand. It's just really cool to have the offline experience and to play the game that frustrates me because it's laggy in real life, and like it's not laggy at all. It's just you're sitting next to your opponent, so there's no bad manners. You can ask them questions and stuff. So it was really awesome. It was a great experience. And then sort of to contradict my point, I did some online tournaments, which I had sort of a more sour experience with. So one was like an intermediate group for Reddit, and I ended up placing 9th out of like 38 people for that. So that I felt pretty good about that.
Wow.
But I mean, the nature of online tournaments, they just are, you can't guarantee a good connection, especially if you're going from like east to west coast on Street Fighter's weak netcode. So that kind of sucked. And then I was also in this Red Bull Proving Ground online tournament, which, like, I guess if you win the tournament, you get flown out to some Capcom Pro Tour event, which is a pretty big deal.
Whoa.
But I promptly lost both of my matches in that too, and I was really frustrated because there was the second guy I faced in the losers bracket was definitely not as good as I was, but it was laggy, and I was also like a little bit nervous, and so I was just crumbling under the pressure of like, oh my god, it's lagging, I'm pissed. And so I just lost. But yeah, I've been streaming all of that too, so I mean, if you guys want to come watch me, feel free to and get a little feeling for that sort of thing. But I mean, I don't really care either way. It probably would make me more nervous if you come and watch. So.
Yeah, even if you don't play Street Fighter, like I don't play Street Fighter, but it's pretty interesting to watch sometimes.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to just get that tournament experience and get sort of those butterflies gone. So I'm not going to be going up to where the tournament is in Boston this week, but I think next week I will, just because I've been driving a lot with that, because we also have friends that live up there that we visit like on different days, so got like 300 miles driven just this weekend. So
I would love to come and watch, because nothing really brightens my day than watching Brett lose at something over and over again.
Yeah. Oh, and don't worry, I will. It's
That's
fun
cool though.
Fun trying to get better at that game though. And the tournament thing is just really cool. You get to meet kind of like a different breed of player who are all just kind of interested in getting better. It's not all about like, ranked points or whatever. There's a lot of people are just kind of looking to level up and feel better about their gameplay and stuff. And it's a helping, fun community to be a part of sometimes. Other times it's a little toxic, but
every community is a little bit.
They're working on it. So
what's the turnout at something like that?
Like for the in real life one?
Yeah, the in real life one. Were there spectators or was it just the players?
It was pretty much just the players. I had like a posse of 3 people because I have some friends at a college like right across the street that came and visited. But and then also some younger kid, his like mom and dad and brothers and sisters were all there watching. That was kind of cool. Because I feel like when I was that age, I feel like my parents would have done the same thing. And maybe it was like 25 to 30 people entered the tournament, I think.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, and then they were all like really good players. I think the people that are showing up weekly are just like insanely good. So I've got a lot of room to improve, but that's kind of
like,
the fun of it.
Because everybody's interesting. So you did like significantly better in the Reddit tournament than the in-person tournament?
Yeah, well, that group, basically the way the skills, it works kind of like Overwatch does now, where it's like gold, silver, and then you go up to platinum, super platinum, diamond, super whatever. So I'm in silver league right now, which was a pretty big deal for me, honestly, because it means you're winning more than you're losing. That's a good thing. And so this tournament was set for like ultra silver and lower, so anybody higher couldn't enter the tournament. It was sort of like for beginners sort of area.
That's cool.
So yeah,
glad that there's something out there for
yeah,
like
it's like,
you can still participate in the social aspect of it without getting just absolutely slaughtered.
Yeah, totally. It's like this special Discord group that I've been chatting with, and all these people are kind of around my skill level, and we're all just kind of helping each other out and playing matches constantly, and it's really awesome because I haven't had to play ranked in forever too, because I'm just able to organize matches through that. Just be like, hey, anybody want to play? And usually like at least 2 or 3 people are down to play.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice.
That is nice. That's cool. I once almost participated in an in-house StarCraft tournament, just an amateur tournament, and I chickened out at the last second. This was back during Wings of Liberty. It was when I was it was like a year after college. I took my whole PC, I unplugged it, and I brought it with me in my car, and then I decided not to do it when I got there.
That's too bad.
Well, it took them... Okay, so... Look, I'm not going to lie and say that I definitely would have done it regardless, but it took them like an extra hour to set everything up.
Oh, geez.
So we were just sitting there doing nothing for most of the day. And then when it was finally set up, I was like 3 or 4 brackets in, so I would have had to wait like another 2 hours. So I was like, I'm just going home. This is just too much.
That's too bad.
But I was definitely getting
the same
nervous.
thing.
I had the jitters and...
Yeah, for sure. It's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And especially when somebody's so much better than you at something like Street Fighter, like the games were done in like 20 seconds each. I was pissed. I'm like, man, what an experience.
Yeah.
But, take what I can get. And hopefully next time I'll maybe last a little longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you... I think the main thing is like kind of getting over the anxiety of it, and you're only going to do that by participating in more.
Definitely. Like, just the environment's different. I'm playing against someone in person, which is different. Like, it's a different setup. My TV isn't the same. It's just all different. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just
I'm
a
looking forward to
lesson
doing
for
it more.
Jayborino's crowd is that like your first time you're not gonna last that long, but you just gotta keep trying.
You just gotta keep trying.
Keep trying.
If you're able, if you're allowed to.
So other than that, I wanted to talk about a game that I decided to play randomly last night, called The Beginner's Guide. I don't know if anybody heard of that, but it's a game by the creator of the Stanley Parable.
Well, the Stanley Parable is awesome until it was out long enough that now everybody can say nothing but, ooh, it's so edgy in an ironic way, because apparently it being edgy the first time you play it isn't worth anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what the Beginner's Guide is like. So essentially you're playing you're playing as nobody, and it is narrated by Davey Redden, who I think is the creator of the Stanley Parable. And this whole time he's talking to you about this guy named Coda, who created all of these pretty bad games, I would say. Pretentious is the word I would probably use. Kind of and so I'm sorry. The way that this game works is Davey is narrating you walking through all of this guy's games, and he'll just like switch it. He'll be like, all right, now we're gonna go to the next game, and it'll just say like, I don't know, November 2009, and you'll go to the next game and the next game, and they're really, really short, like basically art pieces trying to convey some message, and they progressively get darker and darker, and it's kind of on like how Davey thought this guy was like getting really dark and like starting to feel really bad about himself and whatever, depressed, anxiety, etc. And it was really interesting, but I read that it was like not true. I thought it was true the whole time I was playing it, and it's complete fiction,
that
I guess.
sucks.
Yeah, so it's a really bizarre commentary on game development, and it took me 80 something minutes to beat. So I think if you guys have it in your library by some chance, because I was scrolling through and I had it, so I was like, oh, I don't know, I was bored. And yeah, it was pretty cool though, but very pretentious. It was kind of, I don't know, what do I call it? That indie pandering garbage.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
It's pretty much, it was kind of like that. And so, I don't know. I don't want to like spoil the game, but there was a pretty interesting story that I read after finishing the game from some writer was like listing their top games of the year, and they listed that one, but they said something along the lines of like, hey, try to finish it within the 2-hour window so you can refund it though. Like on a professional website. And so they caught a bunch of shit for that. So the idea was like the morality of this guy Davey sharing Coda's games without his consent. But apparently the game is fiction, so literally there is no Coda, and the games were not shared against anyone's consent.
That's bizarre.
That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird story there.
Well, it's weird that it's a game that was even made. You know what I mean? Like we've reached an age where like people are playing games. This isn't really new, but people are playing games not in the traditional sense of wanting to play a game per se, but it's to experience a weird type of storytelling.
Yeah, and it was that's definitely what it was. It was just somebody's weird attempt at storytelling, and for that I sort of appreciated it, but I just kind of wished that it was real because the ending was like super weird.
Sometimes when you see stuff like that, you want to like write an email to the game developer and say like, hey, maybe you should just make a documentary. It'd probably be a lot faster and just be like the equivalent. You could probably make a lot more of them if you just did that.
But nah, dude.
I'm just kidding.
Game making is like so personal though, dude. Come on.
I mean, I like, you know, Stanley Parable has all those different endings and stuff, and obviously this is about a game maker, so you know, it's
yeah,
fictional game maker, I guess, so it kind of is interesting for it to be in a game format. But
yeah.
sometimes you do see those things that are mostly like, you know, it's just like you just move forward and you're not actually really doing anything, and it's like a story that happens.
You're just watching it happen
around you as you move it. And you're like, this could probably just be like something that just happens on my external monitor while I play a actual game.
Yeah, and in part of the game, he was talking about this person's Coda's work, and he was like, oh, well, Coda was really depressed, and so I tried sending everybody's his games to show them how awesome they were, and they kept saying how awesome they were, and for some reason Coda didn't respond positively to that. I'm like, these are not awesome games. And maybe that's when I should have realized, like, this is just
so they made many separate games as part of the...
Yeah, I mean, it was all in the source engine, so, like, it really wasn't anything complex, and they were all, like, could be completed within a minute, and they were just sort of, like, these art pieces on some meta commentary. Like, there was one where, like, you can't walk forward, you have to walk backwards, and that's, like, the whole thing is, like, you know... You're looking at all these messages about how you're like walking without being able to see what's in front of you and blah blah blah.
Ugh.
Oh god. I know.
I mean,
this is so pretentious.
I feel like at least the Stanley Parable was a little pretentious, but nothing like it had ever been done. So it was a commentary on things that nobody had ever pointed out. The second something has been pointed out and everybody already knows it, it's no longer an interesting thing. It's just pretentious and awful. And so that's why I think that's why so many people, and again, it's ironic when they say like, oh, it's so edgy, you know, in a disparaging way. Like, oh, this game's trying to be edgy and it's bad. That's how people kind of refer to that. And so like that's how people talk about the Stanley Parable. But I mean, maybe now, many years after it's been out, but when it was released, it was really interesting because nobody else had really pointed these types of things out.
Yeah, and once people are like over it, then they look back on it and they're like, you know, like what's the big deal? It's not that interesting.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of what made it like okay-ish was like the narrator is with you the whole time, and so he's kind of telling you like that some of the stuff is a little pretentious in its thoughts. So like I don't know, he recognizes that it's not all like super amazing, but
I think that goes a long
Still,
way. Just
I'm
some
pissed.
like self-deprecating personality, and
Yeah.
makes you think like, okay, they're not, it makes things seem less preachy.
Yeah. So that was in the last Humble Bundle, Humble Indie Bundle 17. You might even be able to still get it. I'm not sure.
I don't buy those anymore because I just never play anything in them. I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, I've been trying to play more of the stuff that I get. You can't get it anymore, actually, but
Yeah. I should try to do more indie stuff. Do you remember how like excited you used to be when a Humble Indie Bundle
Oh.
came out?
every like 2 to 3 months when they would come out, yeah, that was super exciting.
I'd be like psyched.
All those games were
to
fresh,
try.
though. I mean, we're past that era, it feels like, where we're going to have to find... There's got to be something... It's got to be, like, really new and really unique to really grab me like that again.
I think from, like, a gameplay perspective, just, now, I mean, you just see, like, another platformer. There's tons of them, and you're just like, God, I don't... Like, convince me to play your platformer.
Yeah, and it's not to say that it's bad. It's just it's never going to be Super Meat Boy, because Super Meat Boy was the first one, and it was
one of
just
the
an incredible
best
game. And your game could be
platformers
as
ever
good as
made.
Super Meat Boy, but I'm not gonna try it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Meat Boy, though, I love that game. That's a game I could pick back up, and I don't know. Maybe I just haven't found anything. Maybe those other games aren't as good. Maybe they're just not as good. I don't know.
There weren't that many
They're not.
indie games being made back when... I don't think so, right? When, like, Super Meat Boy came out and Braid and some of these games,
It definitely wasn't
yeah.
as commercialized.
like, they kind of started, like, indie games
Yeah.
as an industry. Now there's tons of them, like,
Right.
with
Sure.
Indie Game the Movie and stuff like that.
Well, I think the thing is it's no longer charming to make your own game. Because now that we're in the age of... this is what we talked about a while back, but, now we're in the age of early access. Waiting forever for a game. We're just... It's not charming anymore. But, like, something like Super Meat Boy, something like Braid, even something like... what was the other one in Indie Game, the movie?
Fez.
Fez.
Sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Because that guy's...
Sorry, I just wanted to say.
Well, no, I mean, that guy's a crazy person, but even, like, it had a charm to it because you're like, oh, well, these guys, it's persistence. And now it's just like, now people are just like, all right, who cares? Just make the game that you promised us.
Yeah.
It's not, there's no charm there anymore, and I think it's just gone.
It's pretty crazy how quickly that seemed to happen.
A pretty good example of that charm is the whole No Man's Sky thing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
everybody thought that guy Sean Murray was like such a sweetheart and such a nice guy, and now he's just seen as like this two-faced liar.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
awful. Ugh.
It's tough. Like, I know there's, like, different sides to that. Like, he's put in a difficult position, but at the end of the day is like, well, you said that a bunch of stuff would be in your game, and it's not. And I can see how a good person would have, like, a very good person maybe, like, could have gotten to the point that you've gotten, but at the same time, probably should have just come out and said, like, yeah, I know that I said this. It's not true before the game came out.
Right.
Instead of deflecting any questions and criticisms.
Well, it's too late now.
Yep.
Hey, so I casted another one of those tournaments this weekend for Heptacraft, and so I'm going to talk about what I've been doing this week. And that, I mean, anytime I do that, it's a big thing, because it's like 6 hours, and allow me to get very pompous for a moment, but it's a really cool feeling to know that, to watch something grow that deserves to grow, that deserves attention, because you know that so much work has been put into it, and you know that you've been a big part of that. And I'm really excited because it's just one of the coolest mods. I love watching it, and I think other people really like watching it, and some people really like playing it. And this mod just received near zero attention for the longest time. And this guy would try to post on Reddit and post like really long, in-depth, reasonings for his his methods and the reasons why he made certain mechanics the way they were. And as it is with Reddit, it's just sometimes the stars align and the right people see your post, or enough people see your post and it gets upvoted. And every other time it just falls by the wayside. And I look at this, and this guy's put in years of work into this mod that I really enjoy. So I started casting it, and now I do a tournament once a month, and I love it. And I can watch as the viewership grows and the player base grows. It's really cool.
And I mean, anybody can enter the tournament too, right?
Yeah, anybody can sign up.
They can be part of a tournament casted by JayborinoPlays. I mean, guys, get on it if you're not on it.
Dream come true.
I'm just saying, it's cool. It's cool to get in on the ground floor of something that seems to be growing. It's neat.
Yeah, totally. It's been really fun to watch as somebody that just doesn't follow it like at all. So I might not understand what's going on, but I love to see all these people really excited about it. It is really fun.
Mm-hmm. It's a cool little thing. I don't know. I don't know. There's not much more to say about it because I post so much on my channel. I'm not gonna like go through what it's all about, but it's fun. I never would have thought that I would be casting multiplayer games, and this was an instance where I'm like, yeah, this seems neat, because it kind of crossed the boundary between single player and multiplayer, just because the factions, the way that he designed the factions, kind of crossed the line into single player StarCraft lore. They're very lore based, so that kind of got me interested, and then I started watching the games, and it just got hooked right away. It's really cool. So I just hope that it continues to grow, and even if it doesn't, I just enjoy it a lot. And I never thought that I'd be sitting at my desk for 6 hours straight casting a 6 hour long tournament and enjoying it. Anything that I do for 6 hours straight, I'm probably going to be sick of it after hour number 2. No matter what it is. It could be anything, and I would just be like, all right, this needs to end now.
What about sleeping?
Okay. I exaggerated, Keith. Thanks. Now I look like an asshole.
I guess what I'm saying is just like think next time before you say something. So thoughtless.
The disrespect.
So
that's pretty cool. I'd like to I don't think I could really contribute. I don't know. I guess that's pretty hectic. I was just gonna say I'd be interested in hopping in if you get bored while you're casting stuff next time. But I don't know if I could. It's got to be pretty hectic, I guess. A lot of stuff happening. You got to pay attention to.
It's fun in the chat. Sometimes people get rowdy.
Yeah,
You got to hit that ban hammer, man.
and a grand total of 2 people have been banned from my chats.
I've banned Mav about 3 times. Classic a few times. No, I'm just kidding.
The regulars.
Yeah.
We unbanned them because we love them. Yeah, I mean,
it's it's just a nice way of saying you're my friend, but I'm the boss of you.
I mean, I will say, Keith, it's something that it took me a few tries to get into, but it didn't take me that long. It didn't take hours of practice. It's just once you learn the mechanics, you don't have to be good at it to necessarily be able to comment on what's happening. So, could be fun.
So
getting resources.
So Justin's he's streaming Diablo 3 at the moment, and I just thought of a story. So I played a lot of Diablo 2 back when it came out, and it was this interesting sort of Wild West of not that many people knew how to code or anything at that time, and some people could make these little bots or editors or trainers and stuff for Diablo 2, and Blizzard would try to ban them and stuff, and so there's map hacks and things like that. There's a couple interesting stories from it, because that was the one game that I played. I mean, we were talking about earlier people who they're in school, but it's summer and they just have unlimited time and not that many other games to play, and that was the one game that I just that and Jedi Knight I played the hell out of. And I just remember the hacking and stuff. So I used map hack because it was dumb. I felt like I was solving a problem that the game should have solved on its own, which was in the normal game you uncover these maps, different levels, and then when you go online the maps go away. Ordinarily you keep your maps, but when you go online, not everyone has the same map because it's randomly generated, so they just clear out all of your maps, which is really annoying. So I just got a map hack, and they did this mass banning of people, and they did it on April Fool's Day. So everybody thought it was a joke. Or like, you know, my friend had my password, so I was like, my friend, he's just doing this to be an asshole. Nope, they actually banned everybody on April Fool's Day. So there's that, and then the one other story I remember is there was this guy who was like, oh, he had all these good items, and I was like, oh, how'd you get them? He was like, oh, I have this hack that I do. You can download it. And I was like a dumb kid, you know, and I was like, oh, sweet, man. Can you tell me what it is? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so I go and I download a program, you know, from the internet, and while I'm playing the game, and then I double click it, and I watch as my character runs over to my stash and then just starts throwing all of my items on the ground. And I was like, oh, fuck! And I just, like, leapt under the desk, and I just, like, smashed the power button. Like, I just, like, smashed the button on it and just cut the power to my computer. And I think I lost, like, a couple items, but I definitely managed to save some.
That's great.
Yeah.
I downloaded Bonzi Buddy when I was younger.
What was it?
Bonzi Buddy.
Was that like paired with Mozilla back in the day or something?
I don't know what that is.
It's a purple monkey that sits on your desktop and helps you out.
But really, what does it do?
I could not be saying more of the truth.
Kind of like it's like sort of an intrusive program that was.
Yeah, it's totally
back
malware.
in the day. Yeah. Like basically malware, but they're like, you gotta get Bonzi Buddy. He's just, you know.
I think I remember hearing about that, but I don't know. When I was younger, I wasn't too computer savvy, so
Yeah.
I guess I didn't download any malware. Idiots. God.
Yeah, I think everybody, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but like, I feel like everybody kind of screwed up their parents' computer at one point or another.
Oh, yeah.
They were a kid. Like, I screwed up our AOL account because I was like trying to sign up a new account for myself because like I couldn't log in without my parents' permission or something. I just ended up totally screwing up theirs, and like I got viruses on our computer and like tons of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I don't think we ever blatantly had viruses, but I definitely remember like our computer just grinding to a halt. Like it was just so slow. And my parents always come in like, man, this thing is just so slow all the time. I'm just like, yep, sure is.
Yep.
Well, because all the stupid gaming-related things that I've downloaded.
Yeah. My mom still is like, the trust has never recovered, I think. Like, you know, I'm like an adult software engineer, and she'll say things like, you know, I'll be home, and the internet is just constantly terrible at my parents' house because, like, Time Warner's just, you know, awful in that area, and it's always bad, and they're not giving you the speed you pay for. And I mean, it's just bad in some areas and better in others, and it's always terrible. Yeah, but still my mom will come and ask me like, Keith, are you like doing something to the internet because it's not running very fast? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
You know, and the interesting thing, I feel not really bad, but think about kids today, because it's so much easier to prey on people today. Like back in the day when that stuff happened, it was because I'm like, I wanna download Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds without paying for it through like Kazaa or something, and you're just rolling those dice on what you're about to download, right? You don't
into
know
some weird shit. If
but
you were like downloading games illegally or like trying to, you know, hack your game and stuff like that if you were getting viruses.
Well, that's the thing. I did that exact thing. I tried to download. I really wanted Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds, and I found the thing on Kazaa. I was like the only one on Kazaa, and I waited like 3 days for it to download. And then I installed it, and it didn't work. And I just remember panicking, like, what did I just do? Like, what did I just unleash on the computer? But nowadays, you go to any of those, like, shitty torrent, not even torrent, but just, like, shitty streaming sites. And it's so easy to just click something that'll just like, destroy you. There's so many scams out there that can just ruin your computer. It's so much easier today.
It's weird because a lot of those sites, I know that a lot of times it's something like, hey, watch, you know, this TV show illegally online or something like that or whatever. But it seems like they at least care about their site somewhat. Like they're like, yeah, we'll try to get, you know, some decent quality streams in here. make it nice and like user navigable, so you want to attract people. But it seems like they absolutely could not care less how awful their ads are, like pop-ups that say, "You have a virus on your computer. You must download the software."
Congratulations,
Like
you've won.
Yeah.
We've all heard that, all right? You're trying to download Breaking Bad because it just aired last night and you don't have cable, all right? Congratulations, you've won. No, I haven't. Where's the stream button? And you hit play, and it opens up another window that says, hit play here. And you hit play like 6 times, but it's just spam clicks, all right? Don't hit play where you think... The real play button is the most discreet, non-looking play button on the screen. That's how you know what you should be clicking.
It's like a game.
Oh, it's not the one in the top right-hand corner in the banner?
It's not the giant play button right in the center of the screen. It's the tiny little green arrow that's like the size of a pin. That's the real play button. The rest are just lures to get you to go to a site that says that your computer has a virus. And you need to call Microsoft at this 800 number so that you can allow them to remote into your computer and take all of your information.
Oh, while we're talking about browsing the internet when we were younger, I was really lucky as a kid. I was always the 1 millionth visitor to the websites that I would visit.
Oh my god, lucky!
I'm just rolling in riches now.
Who would have thought?
I know.
All right, anecdote.
Wait! No, all right, what about... Do you have an anecdote?
I had one, but it's stupid. So go for it.
Well, mine is only just because I have an answer for the question. I formed a question based around the thing that I want to say.
Okay, let's hear
But
it.
I was just going to say, what are you excited about for BlizzCon?
What are you excited about from BlizzCon? Why don't you start us out so we can think about it?
I don't really like Blizzard or video games, so I don't have a good answer. But you guys go first. I'm sure I'll think of something. I was just going to say, basically the Sombra ARG, augmented reality or whatever, alternate reality game. I don't know why they're called that. It doesn't make any sense. For Sombra for Overwatch, where people have been solving puzzles and all that stuff. It seems like a timer has been. It's kind of bullshit because like they did everything and then this timer got set up on this site that seems to be counting down to BlizzCon, and everybody is like, "God damn it! They were just gonna like announce it at BlizzCon regardless of what happened." So. But I'm pretty excited to see what they say about Overwatch. Like they might be, because I know they've talked about stuff that they're going to add in the future, like the single-player story mode. I doubt it'll be that, but I think that's what I'm most excited about.
They did a really cool ARG when the first Nova Covert Ops mission came out. And I got to give them a lot of props, because, again, StarCraft is probably their least played IP, and they must have had a few really, really devoted employees to do it, because it was really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. You imagine that they must have certain employees that are just exclusively dedicated to doing these. And some of them are very technical, so I don't think it's, not to disparage like business people, but I don't think it's just like, a marketing person. I think that they've got some real nerds working on these things. Code breaking and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. Diablo 3 and 4.
Well, someone in the chat was saying, like, do you think they're going to add more Diablo content, or do you think they're going to talk about,
actually,
Diablo
so
4?
On a serious note, I was just thinking, like, if they were to make a Diablo 4, they're, like, starting from square one on a game that is just absolutely bonkers now. Like, this game is ridiculous. It is, like, you can't even see the shell of what it used to be. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would they do with 4? Like, I don't know. I would almost be okay if they just made another expansion for this game.
I agree. Yeah, I agree completely. Unless they could redo the engine and improve the graphics, but otherwise I don't think it's necessary to make a whole other game. Because Diablo at its core is just a hack and slash, and I don't really know what they could change. They could reintroduce skill trees. I think that's the only thing people really, really wanted, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be cool. I mean, the thing I liked about it's cool that you can change your character dynamically now, but it was kind of cool back in the day. You just had to you would make multiple characters of the same class because you're like, well, I want a fire Amazon or whatever. I want a fire sorceress and I want a teleporting lightning sorceress, and you kind of had to invest the time. But maybe in this day and age, people wouldn't be down for that. Path of Exile has a really cool, similar kind of thing. It's free to play, but it's got a really cool system that is like your heroes start. You pick a class, and it starts you at a location in this enormous grid of abilities, and anyone can get the abilities of another class. So you could make someone who's half sorceress, half barbarian, or you could, so that was pretty cool. It was kind of like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. That might be interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Kind of along the same note is, this is tough for me because I play near every Blizzard game except the most popular one right now, which is Overwatch. But I'm excited to see what they're... so in terms of StarCraft, they've been pretty transparent with what they're working on. So anything they announce outside of what they've already been talking about, I'll be happy with. And frankly, I'm happy with what they've already announced. So frankly, I'm just happy that they, if they give us some progress updates, maybe announce another single-player campaign DLC, since Nova Covert Ops will be getting the final piece of it will be getting released right after BlizzCon. But in terms of StarCraft, I guess they're making skins and voice packs, which would be pretty neat. I don't really care as much about that, but it's just they've been really transparent. So really what I'm most excited about StarCraft related are the BlizzCon finals, because those are always really fun to watch. You see some crazy talent. Yeah. And then Diablo, I'm just excited for, honestly, anything. Like, whatever they're going to announce, I just hope there's something. Because if they don't announce an expansion, and I really doubt Diablo 4, so many people have been talking about Diablo 4, and I don't see it. If they announce it, I would be shocked and pleased, I suppose, if it looks okay. Like, the idea of it sounds okay, but I just don't think... this game is relatively new, and it holds up very well, and it's being supported very heavily. Yeah. And I think, if anything, they just need to add, like, another content patch, and this game is fine. So I'd be really interested to see really anything that they have to say about Diablo. Maybe a Diablo 2 remaster. That could be cool.
Oh, man. That'd be sick.
Because that would bring... Like, just imagine Diablo 2 played in the Diablo 3 engine. You get your skill trees back, but it's the same general idea with some added cool things from Diablo 3, like a remaster. Not a like a remake / remaster, but not an HD version, but like an actual remaster. Remake.
I didn't think of that at all, but that is a absolutely fantastic idea.
That would be.
I don't think it'd be that
awesome.
difficult either.
Yeah. They're talking about StarCraft HD, which we had talked about in a previous podcast, and it's everyone's already losing their minds, even though it's not confirmed. Like, oh, what are they going to change? What are they going to change? Nah. But with Diablo 2, I think they could change stuff. They could be a lot more liberal with stuff that they could add to make it cooler, because you don't really have to worry about PvP balance in Diablo 2. As much, at least. Like, obviously you want to make it so that all the classes are relevant, but you don't have to worry about PvP with big professional scenes or anything. So I think they have a lot of leeway to do something really cool with something like a Diablo 2 remake. That could be fun.
There are classes that they can pull from Diablo 2 that they haven't done in this game yet. There are ones that are similar, like characters that have... because in the original there were characters like Assassin, Druid, Paladin is Crusader pretty much, and they're kind of like Monk. Monk is kind of like Assassin in some ways.
Yeah.
Paladin is like Crusader in some ways, and like Monk in other ways. Necromancer is like the Witch Doctor in a lot of ways. Sorcerer is obviously Sorcerer. Barbarian is Barbarian, but you've got a couple classes that you can draw from if you wanted to add another class. That would honestly be incredible. I just I think if they did, I'd be so excited.
Or if they could do 1 and 2 together. That would be cool.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Diablo 1 was not... I think I went back to playing Diablo 1 after Diablo 2. Diablo 2 added a lot.
Yeah. But if they remade 1 in the style of... If they remade 1 and 2 in the semi-style of 3, just in terms of the visuals, and then they took the gameplay style from 2, they would have some real good IP on their hands right there. I mean, they already do. They just have to make it.
As far as the Diablo 4, yeah, like you were saying, just sort of rehashing, but they don't really need to remake that engine. The difference there were differences. The difference between the engine for Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, considering how long of a period of time there was between them, I mean, it was not that different. I don't think they need to remake the Diablo 3 engine, which would be the main impetus. But you could be seeing, like, how much was the Diablo 3 expansion? 40?
I don't know. I think it's
at
40
launch,
now.
Yeah. It's 20 now.
Oh, it's 20 now. Okay.
It's 20 now with the base game is 20.
Yeah.
As well.
So I think
40
a
for
reasonable expectation would be another $40.
Yeah,
Diablo
I'd be
expansion.
happy with that.
So a stretch goal would be to see an HD remaster of 1 and 2.
That would be mind-blowing.
But realistically, I think we'll just see some content expansion on 3. Beyond that, for Warcraft,
I don't know if we'll even see anything for Diablo. Like,
yeah, we might not. I don't know. I mean, when I went, there was really. I was about to say there was nothing announced for StarCraft, but in fact, they announced that StarCraft 2 was going to be a trilogy at the one that I went to. So I'm pretty sure it was pretty important.
Yeah.
They always have something to announce for every game, whether it's big or small, but Diablo just might be smaller. Warcraft, at this point, I'm just sort of addressing everybody's hopes for these games that they've been hoping for years. Everyone says they want a Warcraft 4, so do I, but I don't think it's going to get made because it's very, very clear at this point that real-time strategy does not have the same draw anymore, so why would they do that? There's definitely a large group of people that want it, but that doesn't mean they're going to make it because they already have a cash cow, even though they lost a bunch of subscribers with WoW. I'm excited to see what features they're going to present about the new Legion expansion. I expect for Warcraft we're going to see them just talk about what's going to be coming in the first major content patch for Legion. That's what I think is going to be big for Warcraft this year. I saw someone who was that in the chat.
I think Darius.
Someone mentioned Overlord Moose said a Warcraft 3 HD remaster. It already kind of is. I mean, the latest patch supports higher resolution, so that's as much of an HD remaster as you can get.
I mean, Warcraft is never coming back. World of Warcraft is Warcraft now. As far as I know that they don't achieve the same thing, but I just feel like they're not going to use the Warcraft name for anything else. Personally,
Yeah.
I agree. And again, it's a cash cow, even though people say, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just because the numbers are down does not mean that it is not profitable and doing well.
Yeah, and
it was
plus
just doing
Legion just
amazingly
came out.
before.
Yeah, Legion
Yeah.
just came out, and I haven't heard huge outroars, I should say, of people hating it. So I mean, they're probably going to get a bunch of resubs from that too. So.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks really good, and
It
know
does,
what?
Honestly, I'm
would
probably
be-
going to resub to it. Honestly,
I don't know. I don't think
Don't
I
do
ever
it.
can. I
should.
always want to, but I won't do it.
I don't think your wife would let you.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing. This year was when the whole Nostalrius thing went down, and this is the first BlizzCon since then, and we know that Blizzard went and talked to those guys.
Yeah,
So maybe
that would be interesting.
we'll hear anything about legacy servers. Something
Yeah.
like that. Because the last thing we heard about it officially from them at a BlizzCon was you think you want it, but you don't, which has turned into a big meme regarding Nostalrius. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Overlord Moo in the chat mentions, Hearthstone. Obviously, that's a big moneymaker for them, and
Oh shit,
it's
yeah.
the one game that like none of us have, one Blizzard game that none of us have.
Yeah, I
really
haven't really played much of
And
it.
I'm sure it's great. I know every time. I mean, I used to be into Magic the Gathering. I know that is a game that I would totally get into, and that's almost the reason. When there's a game like that, I have to kind of like bide my time until I'm like ready to play it. And been out forever, so I don't know. There's a chance I never will, but I know that I'd get super into it if I tried it.
I've been
I'm
thinking
sure
about
there will
trying
be an
it.
announcement for that.
It's really fun. It's easy to get into.
Yeah.
I like it. I
One
haven't
last
played much
note
of it.
on Warcraft 4 that I have to bring up is I think if we ever see a Warcraft 4, it's to give a peaceful death to the Warcraft IP. That's the
Yeah.
only
Yeah,
time we'll see a
definitely.
Warcraft 4 is when they're ready to put that series to bed. That's the only time
well
we'll see
put.
it.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, they made a freaking movie about it, but what does that mean? I don't know. Frickin'.
Frickin'. This is a
All
good
right.
podcast. We didn't have
Yes.
any solid topic, and we just nailed it.
Nailed it.
Knocked
Ooh,
it
we
out of
really
the park.
nailed it.
Kneeled.
Nailed.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It was a good one. I
Thanks
gotta go.
for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. This is the Damage Per Second podcast signing out.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.